as a malcontent, a troublemaker, and even worse, in numerous press releases that the Wall Street Journal had run almost verbatim. Now people stared at her the way they used to stare at her mother, as if she were slightly crazy. "What are you doing here?" David asked. "I live here," she said, balling her hands into fists inside her pockets. "I mean, I've moved back to Serenity Farm, with Mom," she added, feeling small and broken. "Really?" "Yeah, I know, big surprise. Me coming back to Shenandoah Falls and living with my crazy hippie mother." "Yes, it is." "David, I'm so sorry about—" He silenced her with a lift of one eyebrow. As a member of the Lyndon family, one of Virginia's most elite, he'd truly mastered that expression. Her heart almost broke. Once he'd been a good friend, but apparently that was no longer true. She changed the subject. "Natalie went that way." She pointed to the path leading into the woods. "I'm sure she's hiding out in the secret place." His censorious stare turned into a bona fide scowl. "How could you possibly know anything about Natalie?" "I don't," she admitted, the pain sharp. "But I knew her mother." Willow managed to keep her voice controlled despite her emotions. David turned away and marched off toward the woods, head down, hands swinging. His blue suit and dark wingtip lace-ups weren't exactly the right attire for tromping through the woods on a cold November day, but hand-tailored suits were the uniform of choice for the male members of the Lyndon family. David wore his well. Willow turned away, wondering if everyone in town would give her this kind of reception. She could almost hear the whispers going up and down the local grapevine. "Yep, that Willow girl sure is a chip off the old block. The apple didn't fall too far from the Peterson tree. Both of those women are troublemakers." She walked into the inn's lobby, where she drank in the familiar setting, comforted by the fact that nothing much had changed since her girlhood. The place still smelled of beeswax and lemon oil, Persian rugs still covered the hardwood floors, and a pair of Queen Anne chairs still sat by the big fireplace in the lobby. But the furniture was dinged and scratched, the rugs threadbare, and the chairs' upholstery faded. The lobby, which should have been busy at this hour with people arriving for high tea, was dark. So was the dining room. Shelley would be so disappointed. The thought settled into Willow's mind the way snow sometimes settled on the mountains, a cold thing that made her shiver. That last day of her life, Shelley had traveled to New York to meet with an architect about restoring the inn. She'd lost her life on the train coming home in a tragic derailment, and now, apparently, all those plans had come to nothing. Willow continued through the familiar spaces, down a private hallway, and stopped in front of the closed door that led to the inn's office. She knocked. "Come," came the answer she'd been hoping for. Willow opened the door and found Mrs. M sitting behind an oak desk far too big for her. She wore a pair of half-reading glasses that required her to tilt her head up as she looked at her computer screen. Her ever-present pearls and heather gray twin set were like familiar friends. Her hair may have gone from blonde to ash gray, but she still wore it in a page boy, parted on one side. "Natalie's swim bag is all packed and ready to go. It's on the front table. I know you don't want my opinion, but—" She looked up from her computer, surprise unfolding across her face like an old-fashioned lady's fan. "Oh, my goodness, you're not David." "Willow! Oh my, is that you? Good God, it's been years." Mrs. M jumped up from the desk and rushed forward with arms extended. An instant later, Willow found herself enveloped in an Estee Lauder hug. The scent left a warm, sugary feeling in its wake. Mrs. M pushed her back. "Let me look at you," she said in her Tidewater accent. Willow struggled to smile. "Mrs. Marchand, Oh, for goodness sake, you're a grown woman now. Please don't call me that. It reminds me that Craig has gone and left me behind, which isn't all that newsworthy. That man was always in